All right, people.
A busy first day of the draft.
Yeah.
Let's start with the trade that you did, getting 2 draft picks. You then churned one around to get Cossa. What went into that decision process?
Well, there's a lot of thought process behind that. We've got some really good younger players coming, and I felt like we had to create a little bit of room for them in some areas, in some offensive situations. And I think, JJ was a great player for us. Obviously to get 2 first-rounders for him, it's a great value. 1 first-rounder allowed us to go get one of the goaltenders we've been hunting for the last few years. And then I think with the other pick, it allows us to have some ability to make some bigger deals down the stretch with another first-rounder in the bank. And so I think it gives us a lot of flexibility. It gives our younger guys an opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to put a young kid in net that we feel is going to have a chance to really take a step and maybe be a goaltender of the future for us. You never know.
Where does Ethan fit into the picture, and why did you guys trade up to get him?
Well, he's a power forward. When they say power forward, he's a power forward. He's got a lot of great hockey sense. I love his game. He thinks the game at a high level. He's a big man. He can do a little bit of the nasty sometimes and take care of business too. He's a great kid. We did a lot of work on him. We weren't sure that he was going to be there when we were picking, and we had to trade up to get him. But we love who he is. We love the size, the hockey sense, the ability to play tough and hard. He's going to fit right into our culture.
Do you feel like Cossa's ready to be a backup goaltender in the National Hockey League?
We do. And I think the reason why is if you look at his work in the American League over the last few years, he's at the point where he's accumulated enough games in the American Hockey League at his age is absolutely perfect, and now he's going to have that opportunity to take that next step. And I feel like with goaltenders, it's hard. He gets to a certain point in an organization, and it's just. The time it's ticking, and it's hard to draft goaltenders and bring them all the way through the process. It's a tough position when you're drafting somebody and say, hey, well, we're going to see you 6 or 7 years down the road. You got to be patient with them, and I feel like he was a goaltender that we moved towards, and he has a chance to really step in here and be a huge piece of our club next year.
How does that trade affect Michael Rabel, if at all?
Well, I don't think it does. I think, with the goaltending, Michael's got to go down to the American League, and he's got to take the next step down there. And it takes a little bit of time to do that, and he's got to accumulate a lot of games, a lot of starts, and a lot of experiences down there, and to take the next step. And you never know. I mean, he could be up here by the end of the year. You don't know with goaltending, and I think it's important, to always have enough goaltending and enough really good prospects in our organization. And he fits the mold for us that Sebastian does at this time, and he's also going to be a good role model for Michael, and I think he's going to be a great goaltender partner for Veggie. He's an unreal human being, so we're really excited about acquiring him.
And then just back to JJ, do you have any sense of why it didn't work for him here?
I don't know if it didn't work for him. I think for us, on our side of it, there's just more good young players coming, and I think we created a spot now for a little bit of competition where one of the young guys can jump in there and go grab it. And there's still a bit of work to be done in free agency that we need to kind of work for and see what free agents come our way that could help our club. So I think there's a lot of things we can still do to improve the club, and some of those young guys are going to take a step and help us out in that improvement.
You mentioned those young guys pushing. Who are, maybe if you could name 1, 2, or 3, and then we have Dev Camp coming up obviously the next few days. What are you looking for out of those guys?
Well, I think they'll be motivated. So I think they're going to be excited about coming in. I think some of the big guys for us are the Aginlas and the Denoyers and the Baudouins and the Gabe Smiths and Mr. Belchetz, who we just drafted too. Those guys are going to come into camp excited, and they know there's a spot there and there's opportunity for them, and they're going to come in just fired up and ready to go. And I think for them, having a little bit of that opportunity is a great thing. You never know. One of those kids could have a huge impact. And we didn't even talk about Daniel Boot. who had a huge year in the American League and played well for us when he came up, he's going to have an opportunity too.
And then you mentioned it had been years that you've been looking at Sebastian. When did he come on your radar, and when did you get the feeling that he might become available on the?
Well, it's funny when you do a lot of research in the draft, and that particular year, in his draft year, we did a lot of work on him, and we had one of our scouts, Randy Hanch. He was a part of the team that drafted him back in the day in the Western Hockey League to Edmonton, along with Dylan Guenther. So we've always been following him for a long time. And goaltenders take time, so we've been along for the ride, watching and scouting and doing some work and seeing if we could have the ability to acquire him one day, and we did. So,
what's your favorite part of Ethan's game?
Well, I think my favorite part about his game is his touch and feel and understanding the game and just around the net. He's got some ability to score. I think that's a huge. I don't know, just his hockey sense at times. He just knows when to go in there to get the puck, and when the puck's lying around, he's got some scoring ability. So, it's hard to find guys like that that are that big with some sense and some ability and some toughness too.
Drafted a lot of big boys over the last couple of years. How do you incorporate that size into your style, which has a lot to do with speed?
Yeah, I think our scouting staff is pretty good at of trying to mix and blend, the Logan Cooley's of the world, and then you've got the big men like Daniel Boot and that kind of stuff. So I think that they do a nice job at really, blending, not only the size and speed and skill and the different identities that those players bring. So I think we're a well-rounded organization when it comes to drafting. I mean, we always talk about size. People notice our size, but they also notice our speed. And so it's a big part of our culture and what our scouts bring and how we teach, what we're looking for to them. And they go out in the field and do that. But, I mean, there's guys that are big guys, but they're only 5'10", like they're strong and powerful guys too. They might not be 6'5". We like those guys too.
Bill, what's a draft day like from the shoes of the GM where, you wake up in the morning, you've got the excitement of the draft, and then you're making as many moves and just everything that you did in a day like today?
Oh wow, that's a good question. It's a blur, I think when you're in it, it's just one thing to the next to the next to the next. And what people don't see is that it's a good 2 months of work that happens all in that small period of time. So you're studying video, you're doing analytics, you're in all the meetings, and then you're trying to find the guys at potential trade targets and what's the best. So it's really a whirlwind. It's like jumping out of an airplane about 30 times in one day. So it's a good thing.
Bill, kind of building off that, did you head into today thinking, hey, this is going to be a busy one, or did it just the chips fall where they went?
You never know. I mean, every person that is involved with the team, from the scouting department to the pro scouting and the amateur pro scouting, and along with upper management, we're all concerned that our guy's not going to be there. And they work all year long and they get excited about certain players. And, you come to grips with, hey, the number 1 overall, the number 2 overall, but you get into your range and you get excited about some of the kids that could be there. And then all of a sudden, one goes, and then you've got to make an adjustment. But you're hoping when you're going to pick at your spot that guy's going to be there. So we had to, obviously move forward and shake, rattle, and roll and get up there and take LA's pick. And we felt like that was our move, And I've been in those situations where, you've got one guy on the board or whatever, and you've got some, you don't want to be left with nothing at the end of the day, and you've got to make moves. Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.